Hello, people. You're welcome to ProUp Masterclass. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and today I really didn't plan to record this podcast or to even talk about this subject matter. This was largely inspired by a conversation I was having with a young female friend of mine, and she was asking me some questions about direction in life and what she should do um, with her life. So trying to ask some form of advice and seek some guidance in the next step to take in her life. Now she's young, she's single, unmarried, no kids, done with um, higher education, at least to the undergraduate level. She's done with that and about finishing, rounding up her NYSC. And she was asking what I think she should do next. And in talking with her, I kind of just told her I really feel what she needs to do is to find out what she really loves to do in life, as opposed to finding out what job on planning for how to get into the next job opportunity that presents itself to her. So what I told her was, at this stage where you are done with like your NYSC, you're done with university, you have a degree. I feel at this time you want to be intentional about self-assessment and just looking, inwards and finding out who you really are and what your passions are and beginning and you need to begin now to pursue those passions the best you can and in and build your life around those passions rather than trying to look for an occupation. And she got back to me and she said that's going to be very hard because she has bills. She has bills, responsibilities. She needs, the economy is difficult and stuff like that. So she needs to get in there to do work as soon as possible and start earning. And I could totally understand where she was coming from. Totally makes a lot of sense where she's coming from. But then I kind of told her I will make this podcast to address um, her question and her confusion in her urge to prepare herself for work, as opposed to going after what she feels might be a passion. You understand? Um, so I'm going to try to address that here. But then when I got the message from her, it revealed one thing to me. It revealed to me that the woman, mm, the female folk have a lot to learn. And I'm not saying that in a condescending way, I'm saying that in a pretty empathetic way. And I think the female folks might be blindsided to a number of facts which they need to pay close attention to. So a lot of times whenever I have questions or people send me questions and they are female, I don't waste time in addressing their questions, especially if they are young, unmarried, without children. I don't waste time, especially when they're asking for clarity. I try as much as possible to answer them as quickly as possible. And I do that for a reason, because I realize that the young female doesn't have as much time as she feels or she thinks she has as her male counterpart might have. She doesn't. To express life passionately, and to follow the things she truly desires, the window closes very fast for women. And women need to understand this. And I'm not just, it's fast, it's a fast closing window for women. It's even faster closing for black women. And this is where, if you are a black woman listening to this, you need to pay close attention. And if you are listening to this, you are a guy, you have a young black woman in your life, a sister, a cousin, a girlfriend, a fiance, whatever it is, you want to send this to her to listen to very carefully. Because I want to talk to the women here. I am not an authority with women. I am not, and I cannot truly tell you I understand the woman's perspective perfectly. But I'm a man, and I will tell you what I understand about men. And why is it important to state that I'm a man? Because one thing we must be clear on is that men in the world that we are living today wield a lot of power. Although that power is diminishing, you understand, with time, but it will take a long time for that power to absolutely diminish. If it absolutely diminishes, because men have a head start when it comes to this thing called expression of work over women. Men started working as a form of expressing life many thousands of years before women started working as an expression of life. Men started earning money way earlier than women, and so they have um, that experience in the work field, and they've been able to manipulate it to work for them. Now, I'm not saying that men are doing this um, in a malicious way. You understand? I'm not saying that, although there are some men that manipulate their power in a malicious way to make women disadvantaged. But I'm saying a lot of men just don't know how better to do it because that's how it was handed down to them. And that's why women should be careful to look out for themselves. And I'm saying this because when that young lady sent me that question saying, you know what, I don't have time to follow my passion. I really need to get in there and start working. It really sounded like what a guy would say. And that might work for a guy because a guy can find his passion anytime and follow his passion anytime. A guy can find his passion in his 40s, in his 50s, in his 70s, and totally go after it. Totally go after it. Although, yeah, the amount of strength, it's not going to be up to the amount of strength, how physically demanding what his passion is. So you're going to go to his strength. If he doesn't have physical capacity and his passion is something that needs a lot of physical exertion, he might not be able to do it. But if his passion is something that needs a lot of intellectual exertion, he can easily do that. He can easily just drop it and follow what he wants to do. Very easy for him to do. Very hard for a woman to do. Like there's a video that is on YouTube that went viral. You understand? Just some weeks ago, I got to watch it. Pretty interesting video by a man who was a surgeon. Was he a neurosurgeon or stuff like that? I think MIT educated. So good education, great job. Was working in a great hospital, one of the best, foremost hospitals in the world, and was working a very dignifying job. And he talked about how unfulfilling that job was for him, and he just decided to leave the job and just to spend his day walking in, the mountains with his dog and just talking about his thoughts and reflecting and appreciating nature. He dropped a job that was high income paying to follow, you understand, his passion or to find his passion. And it's a great video, a lot to learn from it. But then I don't want to segue too much into that video. But one thing I learned from that video is this man is in his 40s. He could easily make that decision. A woman in her 40s, married with children, will find it very hard to make that decision. It's harder for a woman. And so women have to think of what works for them. But a lot of times, I see a lot of women doing what works for men. And it's not their fault. It's just because they have been educated by men, whether formally or informally. And what I mean by this is when you look through time, a large percentage of the books that you have read as a human being, if you take just take account of all the books that you've read, if you can take a mental account, if in fact you don't have to go back to you don't have to go back to your childhood. Just look in the past 2 years, the books you've read. Look at the authors. For most of you, you realize that most of the authors would be men. Higher percentage men. And I'm not talking about the whole of your life, just past last 2 years. A lot of you will realize that the books you've read have been authored by men. Authored by men. And then if you now look back to your life when you started reading books, you would realize that overwhelmingly the books you've read were authored by men. Whether casual books or educational books, you understand? A lot of them read by men. Even women that used to read a lot of romantic books and stuff, romance books, when I was growing up, there was Mills and Bones. Look at those authors. A lot of them men writing about a romantic experience of a woman. So a lot of times, what I realize is that women have been informed by men through their life without even knowing it. And there's a problem with that. The problem with that is that a man sees the world as a man and not a woman. And no matter how good-willed the man is, and that's what I'm going to say, men are not intentional. I would say most men are not intentionally manipulative or malicious towards women. They just see the world the way they see it. Do you understand? So sometimes even with my wife, there's something she tries to say, and I go say, hey, just do this now. I say, you just don't understand because you're a man. That's the truth. Just like a woman cannot see the world the way the man sees it. Only a man can see a man's problem through and through, and a woman can see a woman's challenges through and through. And so you must be careful who educates you more. So when we look at work life, expression of life, a lot of women have read a lot of male written materials, listened to a lot of things that have been recorded by men, a lot of trainings that were set up by men. So a lot of things are very have their roots in a male creator. So the woman needs to be careful, especially the African woman. There was a discussion I'm having with my wife once, and my wife is a medical doctor, and she told me something that was pretty interesting a long time ago. She was like, "See, these drugs that we take, the African needs to be very careful, especially the African woman, because most of these drugs were developed, number one, for the white male." With the white male in mind, number one, highest in priority, the white male in mind. You understand? And then it now trickles down to the white female. And as you go down, the more your melanin increases, the less you are catered for in research. You understand? For development of drugs for ailments. The more your melanin, so the blacker you are, the less people even consider you when they are developing drugs. And she told me at the bottom of this food chain is the black female. So the more your melanin, the less you are considered. And when your chromosomes are XX, you are left out. So if you have those two things, melanin, a lot in your skin, and XX chromosome, are out. You understand? So a lot of things are developed for the white man first, then white female. So you see, so the white female still has the advantage of white, but the female might still be disadvantageous because a lot of things are developed for men. Now the black man has the advantage of he's a man, but he has the disadvantage of he's black. But the black woman has both disadvantages, black and female. Those things are not considered in a lot of research. So if you are a black female here, you are using a drug, it is working for you by chance, not by choice. By chance, it happens to work for you. Your dosage was not actually intended. You understand? Was not put in mind. Not even well. Was not put in mind at all. There is more intentionally created for dogs than there is created for the black woman. In terms of drugs, in terms of food. Think about it. And that's why the black woman has to be very careful in taking care of herself. Now, I'm not talking about feminism now. I'm talking about wisdom. I'm talking about wisdom, not feminism, because feminism doesn't solve your problem. You understand? Feminism is a loud noise in the downstairs floor of a 100-story tower. So if somebody causing a ruckus in the reception ground floor and wants her noise to get to the penthouse of a 100-story tower, those men are not hearing that thing. You understand? So feminism doesn't work. What might work is you beginning to build your own tower. And forget about trying to make it 100 towers or 100 stories. Let's just start with a floor first that is totally modeled for you as the black woman. So you need to think. That takes thought, not shouting. Thought. Inside, it takes a lot of quietness and reflection, not a lot of noise and protest. You understand? Those things don't work. They're not getting there. They might get to the 5th floor at most, and then you think you made progress, but then the people on the 100th floor are still doing what they are doing. So I want to say this because I realize that the black woman needs to think. And I was talking to this my friend. I thought of the fact that one thing she might not be considering is the fact that she's a woman and she's a black woman, and she needs to find her passion and chase her passion as early as possible. Don't be like a man rushing to that workforce, because what would happen is that once you get into that workforce, life will continue to go, and then there's some societal expectations and even some emotional gravitations towards some things that would happen. What happens is you go to school, you leave school in Nigeria, you do your NYSC, you're out of your NYSC. By the time you're in NYSC, you're already in relationships and stuff like that. Emotional things start happening, and then you get married. Do you understand? And after you get married, for a lot of us, you begin to have children. That's not a bad thing, it's a great thing. But then a woman must be clear about where she's going before she gets married. And I realize a lot of women are not clear about where they are going before they get married. They're not clear about where they are going as human beings before they get married. So they don't find them. A lot of women don't find themselves till they're inside marriage. And when they get into marriage and start having children, what happens? Because women are more emotional, men are more rational. A woman cannot make decisions easily anymore because she's already emotionally tied and attached and committed to some things. The man can make those decisions because his level of emotional attachment is not much. You understand? So he can easily just say, okay, I'm going away for 4 days, and he leaves his children and his wife and he's gone. And it's cool with just talking with them over the phone. For him, a man's got to do what a man's got to do. There's some fault in that mentality, but that's not what I'm going to address right now. Because a lot of men at the end of their life come to regret that disposition. But I'm not going to talk about that. At least in this podcast, I've had a podcast where I've talked about that before, and you might want to listen to that. But then right now, I want to talk about the woman's disposition. A woman cannot make that kind of decision. Leave my children for 4 days. Very, very hard. Very hard. It takes something dying in a woman to leave her children for a day. Very hard. A woman cannot afford to see that. Because she's such an emotional creature, by nature, she is going to try to nurture. You understand? It's just what happens. It takes something dying in a woman for her to lose that nurturing tendency. So once that begins to happen, a lot of women begin to make compromises. You understand? As I say, I can't do this because of my children. I can't do this because of my husband. And that's why a woman must make good use of her time before she takes on those two things, husband and children. And I realize a lot of women don't make good use of that. And that's because women are not spending a lot of time talking to other women about being single and about finding self. A lot of things that are modeled for women makes them look forward to marriage and having children and being wives, which is a great thing, but there's more to life than that. Before you find a husband and you start having children, find yourself. There's nothing more important than finding yourself. So when I see young women leaving school, first I'm telling them, find yourself before you get married. It is very hard to find and be yourself in marriage when you're taking on attachments. You understand? Very, very hard. The society, as it's structured, doesn't allow for a woman to easily become the person she has found. Doesn't allow. So finding yourself, finding your passion for a woman is not a luxury, it's a necessity, because that window will close very fast. And I would even advise most women, find yourself before your husband, before you find your husband, before your husband finds you. Let your husband find you on your path to being who you want to be. Let him know what his wife likes to do, what she loves to do. She loves to sew, she loves to bake, she loves to sing, she loves accounting, she loves engineering, she loves this. Let him find what you are ready to commit your life to doing. You understand? So that he's able to accommodate it in his own plans. You understand? A woman needs to be very clear. Even though we as human beings don't control a lot of outcomes in our lives, but then we have the ability to dream. And I really believe women need to start thinking about how many children they want to have, as opposed to how many children their husband just says he wants to have. Because in the end, when the woman has the children, it is her and the children. You understand? A man with 7 children, you wouldn't know when he goes out. You understand? Because he's out most of the time. A woman with 7 children, you can almost see it on her when you see her. You know that this woman has 7 children. And 7 is even an extreme. You understand? When a woman starts having 3, 4 children, you kind of see it. You cannot know a man that has 7 children. He looks just as much as a man that has 2. You understand? Combs his hair the same way, dressed the same way, he's just as put together. You see him does walk the same way, closes the same time. You understand? But a woman, 2 children, you can already begin to see. You see, I have the privilege of going to pick my children from school whenever they close. And that's put me in a position where I begin to see a lot of, mothers that come to pick their children. And from just that, I realize it's very easy for me to tell how many children a woman has, just by looking at her, because I realize there's a stereotypical look for the woman that comes to pick her children at school. I can tell the woman that has 1 child and the one that has 2, the one that has 3, the one that has 4. I can tell because I spent so much time with them at that time of waiting to pick our kids up, and I can tell. I can tell from the demeanor. I can tell from the dressing. I can tell from the esteem. I can just tell it now because I spent so much time with them in that waiting room of picking our kids up. Very easy to tell. And a lot of time, what I see is not something very pleasant. I see a lot of women that are, for lack of a better word to use, that are beaten. Not beaten physically, but beaten emotionally, and feel have surrendered to their path in life. That is their life. I see a lot of women who have given up on their dreams. I see a lot of women who have found their dreams a little bit late and don't see how to make that equation work anymore, going for their dreams, because they are torn between these children that are like the love of their lives, and a passion that they would like to commit to, but they can't leave these children right now. So they are trapped in this cycle of autism. You understand? And so I can see a lot of sadness, I can see a lot of anger, I can see a lot of regret. Um, yeah, what I see a lot of times is not very attractive. Do you understand? And so I see their shoulders down, I see their heads hanging. Um, and it's not about needs being met. It's not about money. It's about self. I see a lot of women that didn't have the opportunity to know themselves, and feel lost even in their own lives and their body, and they almost carry themselves like they have never really done anything that they've enjoyed before in their life. And that's what I'm going to tell the young women. You are young, find your passion, find your passion, find your passion, and commit to it. Find that which you truly love to do and express it. Express it. Express it as much as possible. Or else you would have to wait for your kids to grow up before you can express it. Let your husband meet you expressing it. Let him understand that this is what you express. Um, let him give himself that mental note of how to accommodate that expression in his life and to think whether he can accommodate that expression or not, because that's part of what makes compatibility. And yeah, do it while it's early. Don't be like men that jump into work even without finding self, because men can always pause to find self. It gets to a place in a woman's life where she can't pause anymore. She can't pause. So while you're single, you can pause. Don't be like a man. Remember that window will close very fast. Find yourself. Find what you love to do. Find that what keeps you alive. That thing that when you do, you don't know when time flies. Do you understand? Find that thing that when you do, sleep is suspended, hunger is suspended, the economic situation is suspended. That thing, find it, find it, find it early enough, not late. I kind of look at someone like Hillary Clinton, very unfortunate type of woman, because you could see that that woman had political ambitions, but then I think she held it back too long, years too long, before she was not able to say, okay, the kids have, or the kid, I think they have only one child. The kid has gotten married. She has her kids now. Bill is done with his political ambition. He's retired now. I think there's now time for me to go after this passion of politics. And she did. And she gave Trump a good run for his money. But then she didn't have much time left. And now I don't think it's going to happen for her again. She doesn't have that physical stamina to be in a political race anymore. She doesn't have that physical stamina. Doesn't have it. Do you understand? The health has started failing. The mind has started failing. And I truly believe that she's an extremely intelligent woman. But I think her best days are behind her. But she used the best days as the wife of a president, as a mother to Chelsea. And that's sad. I, it, and I'm not saying being a wife is sad or being a mother is sad, but I'm saying if it comes at the expense of who you truly are, that is sad. And I feel if Bill had met her on that pathway to saying, I'm in this, I want to do politics, I want to hold off on having children for the first 5 years of our marriage and stuff like that, I think she would have made more headway. I truly feel so. But then enough about Hillary, more about the present day woman, because Hillary is a white is a white woman. Talk about the black woman. So think about your path, find your passion, do it, get it out of you, as much as possible. You know, for me, I found graphic design pretty early. Design pretty early. And I did it every single day for hours. Experimental stuff, things that didn't make sense, things that made sense, and stuff like that. And I got it all out of me. I'm not looking for any play in design anymore. No play. I got all the play, all the kid stuff out of me. I still meet people right now that are my age mates that are looking for that job that allows them to play, because they're still looking for play right now. But I'm so played out. I'm not looking. I milked that career for all the play it could offer. You understand? And now I'm doing it seriously. So I talk about it with a more with more focus, with more seriousness. You understand? But I got that play out of me. I'm not doing graphic design for play like that anymore. I'm not even doing it anymore, as a job. But now the reality is I have no regrets leaving it behind. No regrets doing graphic design as a service and as a passion. I have no regrets moving on from it, because I did it when I did it. But it came at the cost. It came at the cost because all those time I was playing with graphic design, I wasn't earning as much. But that's all right. You understand? I wasn't earning as much. Yeah, that's fine. I had to live with my parents for longer than I wanted to because I wasn't working in a bank or working in an oil company like most of my mates. But then I'm not a 40-year-old looking for passion anymore. I realized that most of my mates that got out of school and just jumped to bank, got into the serious world very early, are now in their 40s looking for play when they can't play anymore. You understand? They're now responsible people. They can't be seen playing. And I see it a lot. I see a lot of men going through what seems like a midlife crisis. Some of them way past midlife, 70-year-old man, 60-year-old man dressing like a Gen Z, acting like a Gen Z, clubbing like a Gen Z. Why? Because that man jumped into work too early, became very responsible, and then started looking for his childhood when he had the money in his hand like that. And then now doing some somewhat ridiculous looking stuff, looking ridiculous, having a crowd that shouldn't be a crowd. And there's a problem when you have an elderly man that is greatly admired by Gen Z females. He's going to get into trouble. That's just the truth. He's going to get in trouble. You understand? It's going to happen. So, do the right things at the right time. And so what I'm trying to tell the women is play while you can play. Because for women, playtime stops very early, especially if you want to go down that path of getting married and having kids. Women get responsible very fast. Responsible very fast just by demand and nature of life. Women get responsible very fast. So women need to learn to think about that and take care of yourself. You understand? Take care of yourself. Spend more time thinking about what you want for your life, how you picture your life to be, especially if you are single. If you're single, please, for a woman, it's your time to think, to fly, to take care of yourself, to do those things that you want to do, get them out of your system, not viceful things, but virtuous things. Those things that your soul really wants to express, those passions. Find it. Don't look for money first. You understand? Don't get in that temptation of looking for money first, because the truth of the matter is that a lot of times when we find ourselves, we become more attractive to money, and that's when income comes in. That concept of income, it should come in. It's the one looking for you, not you going out to look for it. It comes in. And a lot of times the secret to great graceful income is finding yourself and being yourself. When you find yourself, you become attractive to that money you want to receive, and you become attractive even to that man you want to have in your life. You understand? So find yourself first. Find yourself, express yourself, and let those things that you truly want in life become attracted to you. Let them become attracted to you. I hope this helps a woman out there today. As I said, I'm not an authority in women, but I'm just talking up from a point of view of observing a lot of women, talking with women, and I see a lot of unfulfillment, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of regret. You don't have to live that way. You don't have to live that way. You understand? You have the opportunity, especially if you're a young woman today, to truly find yourself.